Hi everyone, it's Brianna again. Thanks for watching, and thanks for watching last week. It sounds like a lot of you are really practicing some radical acceptance as well as trying to do what works for you, that skill of effectiveness. I heard this week from the folks that I met with that creating a new schedule has been really powerful and really helpful for them. So that's effectiveness, as well as there's a lot of you out there working on that radical acceptance of what we can't control and thinking about the things that we can control. And like always, I just want to express my deep gratitude for sticking with the skills and trying them, because I know that I've had to use those skills over the last week, and I hope that they can be just as helpful for you as well. So thank you, and keep building on that radical acceptance, that effectiveness, as well as that support circle. And if you need more support with any of those skills, talk to your group facilitator too, and they can really kind of dive into those a little bit more with you. This week, we're going to talk about just the art of dialectics as a whole, and maybe how it pertains a little bit to what, what we're at right now, as well as talk a little bit about just some different ideas and how we can regulate those emotions. Because I don't know for you, but for me, over the last couple of weeks, like my emotions have kind of gone up and down, kind of sometimes I feel like they're all over the place. So just want to give you some skills for that. So we'll talk about dialectics, as well as we'll really focus on some emotion regulation with that. So what are dialectics? A lot of you have maybe been in kind of delved into what that looks like in group. And it still can be confusing. I have to be honest with you. I had no idea what that word meant before I was a therapist and started doing this DBT stuff many years ago. But it's so it can get kind of confusing. So even if you've kind of studied it before, I just want to go into a little bit of what dialectics is. Very simply, it's the opposite. Two opposites can be true at the same time. And so when they're held together, they can kind of create this new shared idea or this shared truth. So Marshall Linehan, who the creator of DBT, talks a lot about kind of these two ideas might be out there, like I'm really scared right now. I don't know what's going on, and I have a lot of hope, and I've connected to my friends or my family in a different way. Like those might be looked at as opposites. And she talks about what's kind of in this middle space of what's missing, what am I missing? But I want to read to you from her book. This is her book that came out last year. This is her memoir. It's called Building a Life Worth Living. And she talks about kind of her definition of dialectics. So she says, dialectics allows opposites to coexist. You can be weak and you can be strong. You can be happy and you can be sad. In the dialectical worldview, everything is in a constant state of change. There is no absolute truth and no relative truth either. No absolute truth, no absolute right or wrong. Truth evolves over time. Values that were held in the past may not be held in the present. Dialectics is the process of seeking the truth in the moment, drawing on a synthesis of opposites. So it gets a little bit confusing towards the end, but I think that the top part of that is so important. Like you can be weak and you can be strong all at the same moment. So I know for me, like in dealing with all the things that are going on and all of the changes, like sometimes I feel really, really weak. And other times I feel like, yes, we got this. Like I can be really, really strong. And those moments can happen really, really quickly. So just take some time to think how there's some opposites living in your life, and how how those dialectics are really living in you. That you can be weak and you can be strong. You can be scared and you can be confident. You can be multiple things, and share multiple feelings all at the same time. So that really is the art of what dialectics are. So one of the things we're going to ask you to do this week is just kind of dive into that. What are some things in your life that are on that teeter totter, so to speak? where they feel sometimes kind of opposite, or they feel like they're opposing one another, and just holding both of those. So many times we just kind of start fighting one of them or the other because we don't like change. A lot of us don't like change. That can be really hard. And from this, she says, we're going to be kind of in that constant change. Um, so thinking about how holding those two truths can hold on to our emotions, right? Like for some of you, it might be, I want to go to school and I want to make sure that all people are safe, right? Like I can hold both of those, or I want to hang out with my friends, or I want to go do this social thing. And there's these risks that are out there. So there's some different opposites that are holding on. So and kind of what's that shared truth? Okay, so there's I want to hang out with my friends and I want to keep everybody safe of what's going on. Maybe I connect in a different way. I've talked to so many people this week that have gotten so creative with connection. I myself, I played bingo over Zoom, because it was a way to be connected and it was more than even just talking. It might even be something that you wouldn't do with somebody normally. Um, I've just been so struck by all of your creativity and how you can stay connected. So I want to be connected, and I've been told I can't connect. There we go. We have another dialectic. So being creative with how we can do that. What's missing? What's missing? And if you need more ideas about that, reach out to your therapist, because we've been getting ideas from all sorts of people to ourselves. We're trying to be connected in a different and creative way. So reach out and talk about that. So there's dialectics. So talk a little bit about what that looks like in your life and kind of seek that out. The next part I want to talk about is kind of just emotion regulation in general, and some different skills that go along with that. So what is emotion regulation? Kind of exactly how it sounds. It's that ability to regulate our emotions as they come. One of the first things in emotion regulation is getting down and getting an idea of what are some of the emotions that we're experiencing more often. So even for yourself, writing down a list of how do you describe your emotions, and thinking about, gosh, how does that show up? What does that look like? So making a list of all how you'd label them. Doesn't matter if you can come up with all sorts of different words. You might, sometimes you might feel a little bit salty. Sometimes you might feel spicy. If those are words that help you describe your emotions, put those down. These are your emotions. So writing down a list of some of those emotions that you do experience. And then noticing when those come up and noticing the urges that go along with that. So in DBT, we talk a lot about kind of just that chain of how stuff happens. And one of the ways that we look at that is in this nice little chart right here. Okay. And so in that, we have something that happens, okay? It could be something really little, and then it triggers a response in us. And so we have kind of our go-to responses for multiple different emotions, but we start to kind of have judgments and we interpret it. Then our bodies will have sensations. If I'm feeling some anger or some frustration, I might start to sweat on my hands. I might start to even clench my fists. My heart might beat really fast. So getting in touch with what does that feel like in you? Then you might have an urge. Okay, so if I'm angry, I might have the urge to yell. I might have the urge to stomp my feet and walk away. Could even be more extreme than that. And then I have an action that goes along with that. And with every action, there's an outcome that comes as a result of that. So our chain goes, or something happens, an event happens. Now I interpret that. However, it's coming off in that moment for myself. I may or may not be able to be thinking dialectically. That may be a place to put that skill as I'm thinking about a situation that's happening. Body sensations, okay? Urge, action, and then outcome. We'll get you these worksheets as well. Work through kind of what are some emotions that are coming up for you lately that you're like, hey, I got from point A to point B and I'm just What happened? This can be one of those ways. Sorry. This can be one of those ways to just make that connection happen a little bit different. So we can add dialectical thinking in here. The other thing that I want to leave you with is just being able to take a moment. Take a moment to pause. Whether that be a nice deep breath, whether that be a nice drink of water, whether that be just to close your eyes and just feel what your heart is feeling, feel your heart beating, feeling what your stomach is feeling, just being in your body, taking that break, settling yourself, and taking that moment to pause. In moment to pause, we like to think about really checking in on ourselves on the inside, checking in on what's happening around us, so we can feel more calm and more peace. So I want to leave you with a bit of mindfulness. Take a moment, just right now. Take that moment, take a deep breath. This video is going to be done really soon. You'll be able to connect with your therapist about, your group facilitator about the skills that we talked about. Take a breath. I hope you all have a very, very nice week. If you have any questions, reach out to your facilitator. Think dialectically, think about the emotions that you're experiencing, and we'll see you next week.